Well, welcome to Speaking of Horses. I'm your host, Wayne Williams, and we're ready to go right here with some of the great stories from the horse industry. So join us as we get ready to go Speaking of Horses right here on this station. Well, hey, welcome to Speaking of Horses. Today we're going to talk about the Equus Film Festival, and we've talked about the Equus Film Festival in the past. My guest is Lisa Dearson, who's founder of the Equus Film Festival. But today we're going to talk about their involvement at the World Equestrian Games, which is coming up toward the end of September in Tryon, North Carolina. That's about an hour or so to the east of Charlotte. So, Lisa, welcome, and tell us about the involvement in the World Equestrian Games.
Hi, Wayne. Well, it'll be fun going back to another World Equestrian Games with you. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be bringing Mario Contreras with us, too, so we'll have the old gang together.
Be a reunion.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. So we're going to be screening over 100 feature-length documentaries and equine films, and a bunch. We're bringing in probably 25 short films that'll be running on our lobby, but the films will be not free to the public. They'll be free to people who have purchased a pass to come into the equine expo part of the World Equestrian Games. So general admittance pass will get you into the movies.
Okay. So you're going to be running these almost every day of the World Games, correct?
Yes, we're running from noon to 5 every day, and then 10 of the days we're going to be doing a 6:30 in the evening feature film, special film. One night we're going to do the story of Totalist. Another night we're doing what they're calling the love story to the jumping horse. It's called Desert Flight, along with Equestrian Snowman. So we'll be doing feature films 10 of the evenings, and the rest of the time we run from noon to 5.
Okay. Now, can you give us a little bit of a history on some of these films? Because these, you're just not gathering up, little, shall we say, backyard films, and I don't mean to be downgrading anything, but you've got a really good lineup of films with, some top people producing these.
Right. Well, since we started the film festival, and you'll know because you were part of the first one, 6 years ago, we have grown into an industry now where people are producing amazing quality feature films and documentaries about the horse. And one of the filmmakers that's coming in from the Netherlands, Annette will be there, Van Treek, she has 3 documentaries that we're going to be screening. One is called The Story of Totalist. The other one is Golden Genes, which is about those big show jumpers that they bring out of the Netherlands. And then she has another documentary on Amish people and their carriage horses that come out of the Netherlands. So those are 3 really great documentaries. But we have the Wild Ponies of Shinkiti, which address a young girl who's going through some depression issues, and she gets her Shinkiti pony, and it's a tearjerker. Nobody comes out of that movie without having to cry. But it's one after another, just amazing documentaries and feature films, just great stories. Equestrian Snowman, Desert Flight, they're just all great films.
Yeah, Harry and the Snowman is one that always gets me. I had the honor of interviewing a few years ago for my show, Harry. And he is from, I do believe it is the Netherlands he's from.
Yep.
And, quite a story about how he escaped that area, during the Nazi takeover at the start of World War II. And then how he found that horse, the, $80 champion, I think.
$80 champion, yep.
Yep. And how he found the horse and did everything that he did. And when I interviewed him about 6 or 7 years ago, he was well up in his 80s and still doing clinics.
In the documentary, he's up in his 80s and he's walking 4 horses out at a time in the morning for turnout.
Yeah.
But one of the films we have coming in is called When the Dust Settles, which is about the Mustang horses, and a program that's running in Chattanooga, Tennessee, called Mustang Leadership Partners, that matches inner city girls, underprivileged girls, up with Mustang horses and the relationship that they form, and it's just, the horses heal so many people in so many different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful story, and with the work that they're doing in that program is just, with the Mustangs as well as with the young girls. There's so much Mustang content. We have a film coming in, a very short film called The Wild Horse Fire Brigade, which is a short documentary that's been made about how they're using the wild horses to forage the understory that is basically the fuel for all of these horrible wildfires to offset the wildfires. Because, as you know, coming from Wisconsin, the chronic wasting disease with the deer has decimated the deer population west of basically west of Wisconsin. And so there's nothing out there grazing the understory, and some of these wildfires, that's basically why there's too much fuel.
That's right.
Available.
Go ahead.
More positive thing to do with the wild horses, and keep them in their environment, and keep them helping people, and keep them, basically working.
Well, there is so much to the ecological system. And I think that you've touched on a point that bothers me a little bit. When people you take all the wildfires that are going on in the West now, and I'm going to diverse just a little bit, but people don't want you going in there and cleaning up, the debris, the branches, the leaves, the stuff that gather on the ground naturally as it goes through the cycles of seasons. They want it all to be left naturally. Well, they don't want you cleaning it up because that is fuel to the fires that you're talking about.
Exactly.
Well, nature's way of cleaning that out, if we didn't clean it out, nature's way is to periodically have these fires.
Right.
So sometimes we're to blame for this, not because we threw a match in there, but because we didn't,
right.
we could help nature along by cleaning it up ourselves, but somebody says, oh, don't do that, that's some natural habitat. Well, when you don't, the fires are a natural progression of that. A lightning strike and you're on fire,
Well, and that's the thing, though. But if the circle of nature was really going, and the deer were still in there cleaning out that understory and grazing that, then that would help.
You're right. The whole system just gets upset. Right.
Right. So common sense tells you you have to have some sort of large herbivore in there eating the understory.
Right.
And it's perfect use for the wild horse.
Right. It is. It absolutely is. I got to make one comment. You talked about the Mustangs, When the Dust Settles, and the Mustangs in that program with the girls.
Yes.
I interviewed them a couple of years ago in New York at the main festival. Those girls who were troubled, came inner city, came out to work with the Mustangs. When I talked to those girls, they were very impressive because they all had a personality. They all presented themselves well. All of the things it did to them personally and how they carried themselves, presented themselves and everything was amazing what that program has done for those girls.
Right. Well, Joanne brought the girls out to L.A. when we did our tour stop in L.A. this summer. And the girls got to see L.A. and got to see their film on screen in L.A.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's just an amazing thing. But it shows how you can turn it around one life at a time. You can save a horse and you can save a young girl. And there's so many films that story is repeated again and again and again and again. Horses saving and being there for humans.
Yeah. Well, tell us again now, Lisa. This will be at the World Equestrian Games. The dates of the games and what theater or what area is the Equus Film Festival going to be in?
We are going to be in the Horse Expo area, and we're in the Equus Theater They're going to have a building there for the films to be seen in. The seating will be first come, first served. The World Equestrian Games run September 11th through September 23rd. We will be screening films from noon to 5. And then from September 12th through the 22nd, we will be having 6:30 feature films every evening. First come, first served. There'll be a font. The Desert Flight is going to be sponsoring a VIP party for any of the people that make it to that film with the Harry and Snowman screening. I think that's September 21st, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And everyone that is at the park that wants to see that movie, they can get in and get a seat, be part of that party.
Wow.
So,
well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I know I've covered several of the Equus film festivals, and of course your main event every year, shall we say, is in Manhattan in November.
Yep.
And that's coming up again. That's always the weekend before Thanksgiving, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, November 16th through the 18th. We were up in Canada this year, too, north of the border.
Yep, and I was at one out in Sedona, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do these all over. So it's really neat to get involved. I would encourage everybody, if you come into the World Games, be sure and come by and spend some time at the Equus Film Festival.
And we're soon to be, we launched our online platform, so we're now on demand. You can get there through our website, which is equusfilmfestival.net. So we're slowly getting all the films loaded up, so people who can't even make it to the film festival will be able to see some of the wonderful films that we have on our on-demand platform. They can subscribe and get to see the film. Yeah,
it's just great because there's not a lot of outlet for some of these equine films, and they're really good films. Good stories.
They're very good.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, we thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Wayne.
Oh, yeah. I look forward to being there a few days with you at the World Equestrian Games. And we encourage everybody. The dates of the games, again, are September
11th through the 23rd.
There you go. All right,
okay,
Lisa.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us here on Speaking of Horses. Well, that's our show. I'm your host, Wayne Williams. Speaking of Horses, we'll be back next week with a brand new show. Or join us at speakingofhorses.com.